What's up, everybody? BallietBran here, and today we're doing a little bit of a live stream. We are going to be talking about HEX, which is a cryptocurrency. Looks like we already got some people in the chat. So we have, let's see here, we got Johnny No Good. He's got the hexologist Spartan, and let's see what else. We got a Tree of Hex, and also we've got possibly at least maybe one or two possible guests that might be joining the live stream as well. So we got, let's see, Beso T says let's go, and let's delay on voice. Okay. Well, I don't know if there's anything I can do about that, Skagos. I'm using my girlfriend's MacBook Air, and it's something I need to upgrade, you know? So I do plan on getting a like a dedicated PC or desktop for her apartment here, and then another one for my house, which is in Bellevue. Okay, voice is caught up now. Awesome, awesome. I appreciate everyone, your guys's your input, your comments, because it's your guys' comments that help me adjust the video, adjust the live stream a little bit, and make improvements for you guys. Because at the end of the day, this stream and this channel now, in the past it was just random videos that I'd make, but going forward and currently it's related to HEX content and the actual cryptocurrency itself, which is the world's first high interest blockchain certificate of deposit. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a guest that is in the green room. Let me get him over real quick here. Let me just introduce, his name is Gary. We all know him as Funding Jim or Gary or Gifting You Hex. His referral link that you can go to I don't know if it's his referral link or what it is, but his website is hex.help. So without further ado, we're going to bring Gary on, and then I'm going to mute my my speaker here so we can have a good stream.
Hey, good to see you streaming today. I love all of the people coming out, getting their different perspective, their different ideas, and glad to see your stream. Are you able to hear me? Okay.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you very much, Gary. I mean, always good to see you as well, and happy you could make it, you know? Happy you could make it.
I got Sunday morning hair, you know, whatever. It's like I feel like one of those mad scientists. Other times I'm like a clean cut guy. So, but good to see broadcasting. You were saying something about Hex.help. Hex.help is a referral link, but it is only for a charity. So the charity basically is auto-staked. If it's affiliate referral link or if it's any kind of donation that goes to that particular address, it stakes for 3 years minimum, and it goes to the American Society for Suicide Prevention, a cause that I've been supporting for probably like 10, 12 years. But yeah, so that's how that goes. And then my business side of things, most of the time before HEX, I was only Funding Jim and basically helping startups get capital, people that want to start a small to medium-sized business until they get to be actual series and rounds of venture capital and things like that. So it might be like a seed kind of level of mentorship or leadership and getting them funding. And most of the time it's been real estate related in the past. But more recently, since HEX, I started a second channel or persona or whatever, and that's the Gifting You Hex, and that's mostly because of the ban issues of YouTube and what can you broadcast and what can't you broadcast. So I just protect the Funding Gem identity, although I'm public about supporting HEX in general. So that's kind of the background about why I'm 3 people.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool, Gary, what you're doing with the hex.help. I mean, what was it? It was Maddie Allen that did a live stream the other day, and I still need to find out the person's social media, the Hex Exotic something, the guy that was sharing his story. But I think it's really cool that not only in HEX as a community do we talk about, price appreciation, what makes the product valuable, but we also talk about the sci-vibe aspect that Richard Hart has mentioned, many different times, and I think it's really cool because, yeah, what you said you were doing was the actual charity donations to help the suicide prevention or whichever charity it is. I think that's really cool that in the community we can take a step back from price go up, and we can talk about real problems and real events and issues that people go through, because you never know what people are going through. So it's cool that this community has a lot of experience, and we don't just want the price to go up. We also want to give back and help others as well.
Yeah, that's a great sentiment. I got inspired by Vitalik's quadratic funding videos. Probably, I don't know when they came out, 6 months or a year ago or something like that, when he was talking about coin ideas in the ETH ecosystem, which would be that you can quadratically multiply the recipient's value to like a common good, or address the tragedy of the commons kind of idea. So if you had, let's say that you had 4 people that had 1 coin each, you would say, okay, let's say that they had 2 coins. So it's 4 people that have 2 coins each, and they wanted to support a common need, something that society basically, or your morals or your ethics, 4 of you want to contribute, right? So 4 of you are willing to give a coin away to a common cause. The quadratic funding idea is that you would think that each person gives 1 coin means that the recipient wallet would receive 4 coins, but really it could mean that that wallet receives 16 coins. And that's actually an interesting model for government in general, as far as supporting a common cause, supporting distribution efforts and cost efforts and things like that that actually have real world expense. So I liked the idea that he explained. And if you just look up the word quadratic and Vitalik, I'm sure you'll come across the link. And it's like 5 or 6 minutes of him being interviewed and talking about it. And I thought that was an interesting concept. It's not something that's active yet in HEX, but I definitely would like to build something, a derivative that's really a charity derivative or something like that. So you have maybe a lot of people have a different place they would like funds to go to, but they want to compound their contribution. I think that that's an interesting tool idea.
Okay, gotta unmute the mic. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. It's really cool that in HEX as a community, we've got a lot of value that we bring to the table, and a lot of people that are open-minded, and yeah, it's really cool. To your point, what we're doing and how we can kind of collectively as a group work on some of these issues, because Richard was the one that him and his programming team that helped develop HEX and whatnot, but what we're doing as a community, it goes past HEX, and I think it's really cool what kind of change we can make in the world and even globally. Like as a cryptocurrency community, I think we can step outside of the boundary of just cryptocurrency. When people hear about cryptocurrency or Bitcoin, a lot of your average no coiner, their initial response might not be the greatest and the best. But I think with HEX and with our community, I think we're really showing how strong this community can be, and that we don't just talk about crypto, but we do want to help the world and make it a better place as well.
Yeah, I think that the best example, obviously inside of our community, I think of the best example is Richard. And I say that because even though an icon for Richard is the fist crushing dollars kind of medal that he ends up wearing, and this kind of in your face meritocracy is something that actually I believe in pretty strongly, because I see a lot of socialist and communist kinds of ideas put out there. But I also study history for decades and decades, and I've experienced a lot of countries that have Soviet history, Chinese history of communism, Cuba, things like that. I haven't been to Venezuela, and we have influence with, have knowledge about Venezuela and such. But what I believe in, actually, Richard has done, and he's done it throughout the launch of the HEX project. And what I mean is, there's been a lot of solicitation to either be employed by Richard or to basically, in some ways, get a handout of opportunity. But he puts the opportunity uniformly into the sphere. So anybody that wants to take advantage of a referral opportunity, then they can, or they can leave it be. Anybody that wants to build a business that delivers value to its clientele and is actually set up to be a value for value exchange, basically. You're saying, I'm willing to give X number of dollars because I want this service, or I'm willing to give X number of dollars because I want this product, right? So you see things like the HEX Toys people, right? You see that they go through the headache of figuring out brand and graphic arts and putting content to market their product and their services. They build a wallet in advance on their own dime. They don't ask for money up front and then maybe run away with that money. They actually do capitalism, which is they gather together their own funds, they make their own risk assessment, they execute on that work, and they deliver a value to a community or to the public that is discovering the price, this price discovery for the product that they created or their service. So I believe in that very strongly. And Richard has very strongly been a teach people to fish, don't give people fish kind of idea. And even in my charity ideas, that's the way I choose to support it. This kind of theme.
Right. I mean, yeah, you mentioned Richard Hart, you mentioned Hex.Toys. I think it's really cool that Richard, as kind of like a leader, especially of Hex, he didn't like crowdfund or do anything like that to then launch Hex. He put up his own capital or whatever to actually complete the project, complete the project into a product, and after it was audited 3 times, he launched it to the community. And to your point, I think it's really cool, kind of what he's doing and what some of the members of the Hex community, the Hexicans, are doing in a similar footstep.
Yeah, again, crypto influencers, crypto founders, people even that promote the idea of crypto value. The ones I respect are the ones that actually are doers and are open-minded enough to actually evaluate a project or a team or a community by its values, right? By the purpose that it exists. And so I know, like Tim Draper, and he's a venture capitalist. He's from a family of venture capitalists in the Bay Area. He's obviously been in the news a lot because he's I think he has 100,000 Bitcoin he bought from the government many years ago. So there was a time that his crypto net worth was billions of dollars as far as the value of his BTC holdings. And he's not absolutely a maximalist. He's very much about that, startup and about hard work, but smart work, putting something together, a product, a service. He has actually a university. It's called Draper University in San Mateo. And I think there's been TV shows even about it, about going through startup, how you come up with an idea, how you basically work with a team. You develop that idea with your own capital most of the time to be at least a minimal viable product. And then you make your pitch to angels or seed investors and so forth. If your idea has merit, it probably will get funded. If capital is the only thing holding you back, capital is everywhere. You can find capital anywhere, but you can't find good ideas everywhere. So that's really the scarcity model: is what is your good idea? What is your good product when executed that will deliver more value to its customer base or potential client base than they are giving up to you as a person that took that risk on their behalf. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. As far as HEX is related and concerned, some people they ask like, oh, what is the use? What does it do? What's it designed for? And you kind of mentioned like the merits of the product or the project and things like that. And yeah, when it comes to HEX, I mean, Richard's mentioned it before, but it's pretty much a high interest blockchain certificate of deposit. And when we look at the traditional financial system, the average certificate of deposit, from what Richard has mentioned at least, he said that there's globally around like $7 trillion of worth in those CDs globally. And I just think it's really cool, to what you were saying, and just to HEX as a cryptocurrency, what the actual possible potential is for it in its future. I mean, we're less than 1 year into the project being launched, and we've already gone this far. It's going to be really cool to kind of expand out of the crypto community and to maybe touch. I remember you were mentioning this, but kind of spreading yourself more thin and getting into other communities that most cryptocurrencies don't get into.
Yeah, there's 99% of all people that you come in contact with, in person at least, probably have nothing to do with HEX or nothing to do with crypto, or even maybe they're not even speculators or investors of any sort. So probably most people inside of our circle are doing other things, and yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. Is I see this tribalism. I mean, I think there's been different people like Nerd Girl that does research about tribalism, and the anthropological thing about this has been going on for a long time, about picking a faction, picking a side. You're on that side of the river and I'm on this side of the river, therefore you're wrong and I'm right. All that kind of stuff. I do see people in any asset class that take advantage of the naive, so I don't like that element of it. But you should look at. Yeah, I got a little off track. I was thinking of other stuff. My mind kind of wanders around before I've had all my coffee for the day.
Hey, no, I mean, I totally know what you mean. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can kind of look at just a couple of comments while we're kind of
What I like about HEX is that it doesn't depend on the promises of someone else. It doesn't depend on even the community of someone else to do something on behalf of the product. What I like is the product is finished, done. It's pre-built, and we can take advantage of that tool existing. Before there's like 7 simple tools, or basic tools, I think they're called, like a wedge or a screw, or these basic tools of building a house or something like that. How you construct lumber and make a house. So there's like 7 of those. And I think of HEX as one of those, like the eighth tool. How you use it like a hammer, you use it like a shovel, you use it like a screwdriver. It's a tool, and in this case, it's a financial tool that will serve the person that deploys it properly. I think that's what I like about it the most, is it doesn't depend on someone else building something.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely. It doesn't depend on anyone else, and a lot of people have wrongfully speculated that it's super centralized in the aspect that like Richard is controlling everything, and oh, what if this happens? What if Hex.com goes down? I mean, it's an immutable contract. It's something that's going to stay in existence perpetually and pretty much forever. So yeah, I mean, it's cool that not only do we have Hex.com as kind of like the main website that we like to direct people to, but we've also got other front ends like I think like another hex.win, apphex.win, hexmob.win. The last two I think you can use actually for your mobile phone. You can do stakes on your mobile phone, but yeah, to your point, I mean, the cool thing about Hex and what Richard has designed is it does not have any expectations. You know, the product itself is complete, and whatever the community does with it or doesn't do with it will either benefit it or will not benefit it. So it's kind of cool that we can take it into our own hands and diversify if we want to make the actual product grow and become more known. Like, for example, when it comes to advertising, a lot of people have asked, like, oh, Richard, when are you going to do this sort of advertisement, or when are you going to do this or develop this? And his response every time is, don't expect anything from me because I'm not here to do that. It's his response a lot of the time is, oh, you want this to get on Coinbase? Well, why don't you, the person asking me, why don't you go message the head people at Coinbase? Like, it takes initiative into the community with whether we actually make this, very successful or medium.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of, again, speaking to communist and socialist ideas. Is someone else will protect me and do things for me, and I will suckle, and that's my work, right? That I will suckle, and I don't really believe in those thoughts. I think that the people that are damaged, injured, handicapped, inept. I wouldn't say inept, but basically they have some physical limitation or something like that. Then I'm all for supporting the social net, to protect people, the vulnerable. But the lazy, I really don't care for. And the idea of lazy people compelling someone else through mob action to do something for them, fuck all that shit. I don't believe in it. So I do like Richard's, even though sometimes comes off abrasive. I do like the tough love, because I think that actually compels it compels people to grow, and it compels people to do real analysis, to do their own research, and actually investigate things. Instead of just where the sound on the wind carries, is where they follow. I don't like that Pied Piper bullshit. So,
I mean, I agree completely. Richard's been asked about other cryptocurrency projects in the past, and from my experience, one of the first cryptocurrencies that I got into in early 2017 was Litecoin, and some people, especially nowadays, when they ask Richard about altcoins, he pretty much says, like, don't ask me about it unless it's Hex related. Otherwise, you're kind of distracting the chat. But my point is people have asked Richard about, like, oh, what do you think about this project? And when it comes to Litecoin specifically, they, in 2017, I believe it was, at like the top of the market, not only did Satoshi Light, Charlie Lee, not only did he pretty much dump on his followers' heads, but him and some of the members of the community had promised that work was going to get done. The confidential transactions and
$300 million sold, and oh yeah, we're going to fund this team or whatever to
right.
build something else. And that was 3 years ago. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. To your point, I didn't know the value off the top of my head, but $300 million was sold on top of my head and other bag holders' heads, and in return, they thought work was going to get done. So I think that when someone like Richard Hart he's not made any promises of future expectations and things like that. I think when he gets some of the bad rep from the actual community and the influencers, I think it's all just null and void, because he, just like a lot of us, but himself specifically, was the first one to lead by example. I mean, talk is cheap, but Richard actually walks the walk with the project being audited, with it being completed. Like, there's no expectations, and I think that's a really cool position to be in as an investor and as a staker and holder of HEX,
Yeah.
because it.
I mean, you think about who has the most to risk out of anybody inside of the community or outside of it. It's, who has, hundreds of millions of dollars potential, who has their ego and their livelihood and their persona to be vilified for as long as crypto exists, other than Richard. Richard is the most, I wouldn't say vulnerable. He's really not vulnerable, but he is the most. Obviously, he's the face of HEX in so many ways. Now, HEX doesn't depend on Richard. It doesn't depend on his action or inaction. He can have influence to some degree, but to create this thing and then release it into the public to allow it to thrive or perish, that's a big risk and investment on his part. Years of effort, right? How many times have you come into the chat room at 2 a.m. or 3 p.m. and Richard is available, right? It makes himself available. The work ethic of that guy is comparable to people like Elon Musk or something like that have, again, Elon Musk has tens of thousands of employees, right? He's had the force of will to build things out. But from like PayPal, or before PayPal, I think it was like a GPS kind of software thing. But so he's had the force of will. It's similar to Richard, but he's also leveraged his time through tens of thousands of employees and partners. And in some ways, this crypto chat and crypto Twitter and the supporters of the HEX idea, we're kind of doing that same thing. We are leverage, but we're cross leveraging. We're not doing it to only benefit, an Elon Musk kind of central authority's ego. We're doing it because the contract can award you proportionate to your support and the product itself. I like it a lot.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree completely. I mean, HEX has a lot of similarities to Bitcoin, and when you compare some of the things that makes HEX a little bit better is it does have a referral program, and to your point about like the work that you put in can directly affect the community and the project and things like that. But even just the people in the community getting a domain like a HEX doctor, a hexologist, and they're sharing it out to everyone that they know, like things like that not only go a long ways for marketing, but they kind of just spread the word out a little bit more. And yeah, I think what we're doing so far in under 1 year, I don't even know the official date. I think it's like December 2nd or 3rd when it was launched, if I'm not mistaken. But in under 1 year, HEX has not only had a lot of price gain and interest earned trustlessly from the stakers, but we've really gone a lot farther than I thought we would to this point. So it's just really cool that in HEX, when it comes to cryptocurrency, no other cryptocurrency has had the actual idea of true staking and true time locking. Like when some of the people that I know, when they ask me about HEX and they say, "Oh, Brandon, aren't you scared that this is going to happen and that's going to happen?" I think one of the things that's really cool about HEX is you don't even necessarily have to speculate a whole bunch when it comes to the actual statistics and the data. HEX is the most transparent blockchain in cryptocurrency ever. And people can actually, just like people can vote with their dollars, they can do the same thing through staking. And we've seen big whales and lots of money get locked up into HEX. And just real quick, one thing that when I was on hex.live earlier preparing for the stream, it was saying that $441.5 million is locked up for an average of like 4.43 years. And so when people ask like, oh, what does it do? Or when influencers try to FUD the project and things like that, I think those people that they're talking to, I think they should really do their own research and they should look into to HEX, because we don't have to prove it to anyone. You can just look at the stats and look at the history in itself.
Yeah, it's and again, I don't want the show to be a bash Bitcoin thing. I would say that since my start in the crypto space in early 17, I think around February of 17, is when I first went to something in Santa Monica in California, and it was thousands of people obviously pitching their ICOs before the ICO boom really had happened. But I think that the tools that I've seen available, the transparency I've seen inside of HEX far outshines what's available in Bitcoin. And again, maybe I'm not super versed in everything that's available in Bitcoin. I know kind of the evolution and different tools that were available, and some of them came and they went and so forth, as far as different ways to see the transparency of movement of coin, and maybe to associate it with an exchange or a wallet or something along those lines, as far as like identity, pseudo anonymity. But just in the past 10 or 11 months of the launch date for HEX, so many things have been built by community that are vetted and open source, but the code is transparent. And all of the people that try to throw a shadow on HEX, they almost always can only resort to character assassinations of Richard, or attempts to character assassinate. I haven't seen anything that looks really at the truth of a blockchain and throws shadow on the product. They throw it on a persona, if anything, and then once they get past a persona and they actually look at the code, it's almost like you don't like the light bulb. Is it Thomas Edison you don't like because he was an asshole, or is it the light bulb that you don't like, right? So if you believe in the technology, if you see the function of a technology, if it delivers on exactly what it says it's going to do, and it's useful as a financial tool of sorts, then what's the issue with the original thinker that put that idea into the world, that actually executed and delivered a product that uses that technology? It's dumbfounding how these people that have tens of thousands of followers or hundreds of thousands of followers shine them on. It's silly. I don't get it.
Well, I mean, I agree completely, Gary. I mean, from my experience, when I hear someone talking trash or ad hominem attacking a influencer or someone that's actually built a product, I specifically like to pick apart the details of their argument and what are their words saying specifically. And when we listen to the fear, uncertainty, and doubt of not only Richard Hart or HEX, but when we listen to that, the people that actually do their own research and that actually listen to the words verbatim, they can realize that the substance is attacking Richard. It's not attacking the actual product like HEX. It's usually, attacking his previous companies or his persona or political correctness, things like that. And when it comes down to it, like, I think a lot of those people, they should focus on the actual product. I mean, that's kind of the important part at the end of the day is what does the actual product do? I mean, you can listen to the haters and speculators all you want, but when you have people like myself and yourself and just everyone else in the community, when we have people like us coming behind, we're going in front of a camera, I think that really says a lot about the actual product, because these like quote unquote crypto influencers, a lot of them, they're shilling projects or they're shilling trading that ends up getting their viewers wrecked. And what we're doing is we don't really have a motivation behind what we're talking about HEX, besides for people to actually, hear about it and understand it.
Yeah, yeah. And again, you should, someone told me a long time ago, you can go to business school and you can learn from a professor that's never run a business before, and you get credits, and then you get a certificate or a diploma, and then you're released into the world to actually learn what to do from scratch almost. So I actually respect Richard a lot because he's had different successes and different endeavors over the course of a lifetime. And I respect in some ways people like Mark Cuban that goes door to door as a teenager selling garbage bags, because that's a hustle, right? And he made his first successes were as a teenager just selling garbage bags. What kind of person chooses that as a product? But he did well, right? So I like people that see a need in the public, do a worldview analysis if it's to that scale, and then toil to make it easier, more accessible for a general public to benefit from. And I think that that's the reward for a potential billionaire or whatever is, how can I make people's lives as consumers more efficient, better, and improved, right, in some way. So I look at Richard in a similar light. Even in like near me is like Steve Jobs as an example, and everybody likes to laud him as some superhero guy, but he made a prettier version of existing technology. Took existing technology that Xerox or other companies that were developing or had, and then he packaged it very well about the aesthetic, the design, the user interface, and became a juggernaut in the tech space, right, as far as Apple and such. But the innovation of a brand new thing, which is a blockchain CD, that's delivered and executed and runs flawlessly, 100% uptime, as these other ideas float by as husks or dead bodies, as they like to say, is impressive, and you have to pay respect to that. Where it's at the moment, where it potentially could be in the future. It could be zero. It could be tens of dollars per hex. Who knows what it's going to actually be? But I can see the value, at least in the past 10 months, and not just in a price speculation, but as a piece. If you're going to be investing in the crypto space, it is volatile. It is danger-ridden. You could lose everything, right? But to take that risk profile and make it better is exactly what HEX has done and what Richard has done by creating HEX.
I mean, yeah, I couldn't agree more. Richard might have a lot of controversy, but one of the things that he's talked about for a long time, and one of the things that I really agree with is at the end of the day, when it comes to cryptocurrency, a lot of people say like, I'm in it for the tech, and things like this. But in reality, Richard Hart has mentioned that a lot of people are really in it for the price go up and the price appreciation. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with talking about price and things like that. But when someone like Richard not only develops the world's first high interest blockchain CD, when he talks about price, people automatically point the finger and slander and call names. But in reality, he's kind of addressing a lot of the points that got people into cryptocurrency, or at least interested in the first place. And
well, there's not a website that's so popular that everybody checks it constantly, and the top 10 is listed by the technology that it does. There's not a top 10 that does that. The top 10 shows the price. The top 10 shows the market cap, shows the volume, shows the number, right? And so to completely, criminalize or whatever, make evil the idea that HEX actually talks about price is ridiculous, because that's why people pay attention to an asset that's intangible, that they don't feed themselves with, that they don't live inside of. It's an intangible. Crypto is an intangible. You don't have something actually. You have keys to something on a blockchain, right? So you don't really actually have a purpose for it other than the number, the value. Is it going to grant you access to a Miami club because you show a token on your wallet and now you can get into a Miami club? Not yet. That isn't what it does. It's a speculative value, and that speculation can go high, it can go low, it can be volatile, but it can also, in Hex's case, pay a trustless interest. It doesn't require permission or KYC or AML or make sure I'm in this particular jurisdiction or make sure that my IP address shows that I'm in this place so that I can pull money out or put it in. It doesn't make any sense to talk in the crypto space about the wonderful things of Cardano when people are buying Cardano based on its potential for price to go up. It doesn't make any sense to talk about the amazing things that Ethereum does other than the fact that it enables other companies and dApps and products and tokens to rise in value. That's why people care. That's why there are things like Uniswap as a smart contract that exists, is because people use these things to speculate. They use it to make their value go up, either through leverage of a margin kind of trading situation or through simple code. The code says you're going to get more because you are part of a pool that participates and supports, or you're going to get that you're going to feel the effects of inflation because you're unstaked and you're using it simply as a trading token. So Hex is incomparable to anything else inside of crypto.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I want to address that point real quick too, and then I want to kind of address the chat a little bit too, just since we got some people in the chat. But yeah, real quick, yeah, the short-worded response I want to say to that is yeah, Hex is the most trustless and it is the most transparent and honest, cryptocurrency that exists out there, and it's really cool because everyone can look at the data themselves and evaluate what's going on and how much money people are staking and the average length that people are staking. So just wanted to mention that. And then I also want to address the chat a little bit. So yeah, right now we got about 28 people on DLive, and we got some people on YouTube as well.
Let me listen to you for a minute. I'm going to still be listening, but I'm going to put my camera off and just
sure.
Go ahead and do that.
Okay, cool. You got it, Gary. By the way, also thank you for joining in. So yeah, let me just respond real quick here. Let me also just address something real quick. So right now the pinned message, I've got Big Pep with the pinned message. He's someone in the community that recently started making videos related to Hex a few weeks ago or a month ago, something like that. But someone like himself is in the chat, and I just want to say that it's cool with Hex that we've got a lot of community members that are like-minded and that have similar interests and goals. Gary and myself towards the beginning of the chat talked about not only price go up in Hex, that's great, but also the community behind it and things that Richard is passionate about, like Sci-Vive. And I know Gary's talked about the suicide prevention charity that he's donating to and the cause, and yeah, people like Big Pep, even when he was first making videos, he mentioned that he'd never really done any YouTube live streams before or things like that, but because he felt so compelled, I guess, by other people in the community like yourself and myself, someone like Big Pep started doing live streams and creating content. So just want to say, yeah, thanks to Big Pep and everyone else out there in the community as well. I mean, we got in the chat as well earlier, Yosh Deep, and he actually had a stream today, and he had a stream yesterday. So today he had a stream with Woody 10K, and his actual Twitter name I think is like Thorbin something. I'll post his. It's ID Thorbin. I'll put that in the chat for anyone that that want to check some out on Twitter. But it's just really cool what we're doing as a cryptocurrency community. You know, not only do we have a lot of smart people and a variety of people that are older and younger, but we've got a lot of people that share similar values and similar ideas as well. So, you know, even Big Pep mentioned the other day a little bit kind of about sci-vive and things like that, and it's cool what we're doing. So just want to say thanks to everyone in the community. Thank you, Big Pep, for your spreadsheets, the Excel documents. To anybody that doesn't know, those are available to download and to edit yourself on your own Excel sheet, and I'll link that in the chat as well. But so yeah, we got people like Big Pep, we got people like Yosh Deep, and then like I said, the guy that Yosh Deep streamed with was ID Thorben, or Woody 10K, I guess he also goes by, but he was sharing some charts and some data as well. So without further ado, one other guest we got is Big Pep himself. So we're gonna bring him on to the stream.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Yeah.
My name's Jim. Nice to meet you.
See, in real life here, I've been watching your videos for quite some time since you first launched, and I think that they're great. That you obviously field the questions from the audience well, and I think you speak to someone that understands the value of time, time value and finance. So I really appreciate that you're putting content out there.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that feedback too. You know, I've watched you, I've watched all you guys for quite some time, and felt like there was that stream you guys had where kind of Richard was a surprise guest on Discourse, and he was talking about, we all need to get out there and participate, not just really kind of, armchair quarterback this thing. And, I had reservations about, jumping on YouTube. I'd never done it before and all that. But, yeah, I'm glad to be assisting and helpful and just give my own perspective and kind of reinforce, what other people are thinking too. And just like what you guys do for me, a lot of what you guys talk about, a lot of what you say, sometimes I'm thinking like, well, am I on the right train of thought here? Or is there something I'm missing? Or, do I have some of the pieces put together correctly? So it helps kind of bring all that together. And as a community, we all figure this thing out together, really.
Yeah, I love that new ideas pop up, and then some person that you've never heard of inside the community takes that ball and runs with it because nobody else is, right? So I love the discourse when we actually, it's nice when we like joke around and kind of become, very masculine with our, our conversation, whatever, a little bit. But when an idea comes to the surface and a week or two later, you'll see that someone's actually acting on it, or that they started a YouTube, or they started a D-Live, or they started some kind of graphics like a Ministry of HEX, starting to do video editing and things like that. These people were doing normal, regular jobs, and their curiosity led them to HEX, and then that curiosity, compelled them to build even income streams outside of HEX altogether, just to take up their own passion. So I know Ministry of HEX is one of these kinds of people. He had curiosity about video editing and putting things together, and I don't think he'd done any volume before. And I remember doing a stream like 5 or 6 months ago and saying, hey, let's get you on Fiverr, let's get you on Upwork, let's get some content, generated either from the community themselves that want to hire you, or at least build your profile so that you can hire yourself out and replace the thing you don't like with the thing you do like to do. And I think I see that all the time. And you're maybe an example. Like right now, it's maybe a curiosity and it's spreadsheets and it's financial analysis, basically just, using the community in some ways as your own sounding board, and the community benefiting from your thoughts for their decisions in some ways. But I see that over and over, and I'm really, really happy to be part of this this community for those reasons.
Yeah, likewise. And the spreadsheets were kind of, I was working on them for my own use at the time. And I said, what, why don't I share this? And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, spreadsheets are kind of just second nature anymore, but not everybody is as familiar with them, right? So I said, you know what, maybe people can leverage this, and they do give you that good visual representation of data. You know, they are very useful for that, because even with HEX, from a high level, it seems very simplistic. You know, people understand CDs in general; they're not overly complicated to comprehend. But when you start to dig into HEX, you first start thinking about the shares, and then the price of shares, the price of HEX, and everything factoring in. And it's really tough to keep all that organized in your thought process when you have your staking ladders, because most of us have numerous stakes coming out at various points in time, and then we try to analyze, like, well, does this make sense? Is this the best play? Or how am I gonna, should I ladder this with more or less further out? So you can kind of help plan your attack, so to speak, or plan your trustless interest income, I should say, down the road. So yeah, that's been also very helpful, I think, even just with planning my own, because I've restructured a lot of my own stakes as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, your spreadsheets are super helpful because, like you said, they bring a visual element to it. When you think about just a table of numbers, it can mystify people that are looking at it, and they just don't look at numbers in the same visual way. So when you do those graphs and you show the hockey stick as far as the number of HEX and interest and things like that, it helps to give those examples. And when you work it through and you say, hey, put in your own numbers, put in your own inputs, and people to play with the tool. I love that you make that available. I really do. And another thing I wanted to say is, I do see where people, at least on the surface, as we get new people that are starting their HEX understanding journey, what gets promoted is 3.69% interest. But the thing that they relate it to is a bank or a fiat or a credit card interest. So they don't understand that your car APR, when you finance a car, might be a fixed amount, and they're going to make that payment for 6 years. They don't understand that a mortgage may have a 30-year fixed interest rate, or a credit card, might have a certain interest rate, and then every year adjust, or depending on whether or not you pay your bills on time and things like that adjust. But they don't understand that 3.69% is the inflation of the total amount of coin, and that the stakers are the ones benefiting from that. So when they see a number like 25% APY, and you're able to explain the difference between 3.69% by code and contract paying to a staker class, and your percentage of that staking pool is your APY, I think that highlighting that a little bit even more is helpful, at least for me, that likes numbers and likes, the minutia of the code and things like that.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I'm a numbers guy too, and it helps to kind of put all that into perspective, and you can really see how. One thing that I really like about the design and the game theory of HEX is it considers everybody who's a good actor in the space. So it's not just one central entity benefiting. I've mentioned this in some of my live streams before, where a CD at the bank, somebody doesn't fulfill their commitment and they cash out early and they're penalized. Well, the people who do fulfill their commitments don't benefit from any of those penalties, just the bankers, right? And that actually goes right along the lines of what crypto was invented in the first place, to kind of detach and decouple from some of these banks and some of the policies they have, where you really have no say in those matters. And so I think this falls well in line with the whole agenda of crypto as a whole. But the more you dig into HEX, and look, I'm an engineer by trade, and most of my career spent in engineering and software development too. So I can sometimes be over analytical of things. So I don't just jump haphazardly into really anything. I'll back that a little bit. To my own admission, I did when crypto first came out, and I had some of that FOMO when Bitcoin was 20K, and I was just running to learn as much as I could, just enough to be dangerous. And then, just what any guy on YouTube was pitching, I'm like, oh, that's 10 cents. It must go to $10 or $100. I'll just jump in now. And then most of those just all went to nothing, just junk coins went to zero. So, but recalibrating from there, when I was listening to Richard, and when he was talking about HEX, even before it was HEX, and even talking about launching his own token, I was intrigued because he had so much knowledge in the space. And even when the 2017 bubble was bursting, instead of just trying to pitch and shill a bunch of altcoins or whatever somebody was going to pay him to do, I'm sure he probably got offers. He just stayed tried and true to what he believed the space was about and what he thought was good. And he told you a lot of things maybe didn't want to hear. Some of the stuff, like some of the bags you might have bought, some of your thoughts about crypto in general and real world applications that you were like, oh, this sounds good. This must take off. This must be something that's going to run. And he'd be like, nope, there's reasons. There's databases already that are superior. And you kind of know it, especially when you're in a technical field. There's that voice in you like, there's already applications in place that are superior to this. And again, he's talking about like even Bitcoin. He's like, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a car using Bitcoin at the car lot? It's going to take you 2 hours for a transaction. And now the dealer or you is going to be screwed driving off the lot. Somebody's going to lose money when the price wicks up or down.
Yep.
So there's that offset there too. Another thing, and I actually just recorded another video before I jumped online with you guys. I haven't published it yet, but I saw some more FUD I stumbled on last night from, I won't mention who, used to be one of the pro hexers. Right. And it kind of pissed me off because I was like, you know what, this is really shallow observations and almost insulting to think that we can't see, the big payday picture. Like, okay, everybody knows there's a lot of tokens coming into liquidity or becoming liquid, big paydays, 5-6 billion, whatever, and the liquidity pool is X amount. And it just kind of, when people get out and try to incite fear and panic about this type of thing, I wanted to kind of try to offset that thinking a little bit because, up to this point, most cryptos, the events like a big payday event is a milestone event. We don't even have a working product. I mean, I talk about Cardano all the time. I go back to Substratum. I can go back to, there was a project called BAB that it actually, Encash and some others I invested in. You know what their biggest event ever was? They got listed on Binance. BAB got on KuCoin.
Now they've been baptized.
Yeah. That was the biggest driving force behind a price wick up. And of course, it wicked down after the project started to unravel. And that's what people seem to think with HEX too. Like, oh, big payday's it. People are only in it for big payday. And then they're just going to dump and run because there's nothing else there. No, there's the trustless interest. I get that question a lot too. Why would I own HEX after big payday? I'm like, well, why do you own HEX now? I'm like, I didn't buy HEX just for big payday. It's a nice, incentive to get in early. But to say that that's the only reason to be in HEX is a bit short-sighted and naive. But to think that the community as a whole can't see, some of the volatility that may or may not play out around big payday. And I don't know what your thoughts are, Gary, on this too, or Brand is. I think there's going to be, even when there's some sell pressure down, I believe there's two things that are going to take place. There's going to be arbitrage groups because there's a lot of us, if it goes low enough, that are going to scoop up cheap HEX again because I've missed some opportunities. I bought in the launch I bought when it first launched December, January. I didn't fill the bags quite enough. I wish I could go back. I thought I'd have more time. Then the price ran up. So I think if it was a low price point again, I mean like a 1 million HEX per ETH type of deal, it's not going to linger there for very long. I'm thinking there's going to be arbitrage pulling that up. And then there may be the whale players that could help possibly trim the fat of the circulating supply that remains after all of the volatility of big payday is behind us. Probably not in the first couple of days, but maybe going into late December, January. What do you guys think on that?
So a couple of things. I'm going to compare it to a Binance scenario of 2017. Binance scenario of 2017 was it took at the very minimum $1 million in cash, not ETH, not Bitcoin, but $1 million in cash, plus a significant contribution of the coin that is going to be listed to the purse of Binance. Mm-hmm. And so when you saw something get hyped or promoted, or it's going to get listed on Binance or win Binance or whatever, that was part of the marketing for sale of that coin. And when is that going to happen? It's going to happen when, most likely, when the people that got it for nothing, which is Binance, can sell it for something, which is everybody interesting and FOMOing. So you saw these spikes up and you see them spike down. and I don't think that that's an honest player in the space. And I don't see that in that kind of purpose or profit making in the HEX ecosystem, even when they talk about the OA or about whales and things like that. I think that the word crypto used to have a positive thought, then it became a dirty thought when people got hurt in 2017 from the idea that it's called crypto and that this team of 10 people are going to execute on some future promise, right? Promise to, we're going to make a partnership, we're going to develop this technology, we're going to take this concept and we're going to develop it into something that gives you value. That's a security. I don't care what people called it, how they framed it, and they try to use legalese, or they change the jurisdiction of where they launch from, or who can participate. It's a security. It doesn't matter whether you're excluding Americans or not, and you're based in Malta, it's a security, because you are basing the promise of the value today, give me the money today, based on what we're going to do in the future. That's like any other kind of, not even an IPO, but basically a promise of future work to be done by others that you're going to benefit from.
You're absolutely right. Yeah,
And what I think about the BPD is that there's been a benevolent, I don't want to say action, but there's been things benevolent to the product value that have happened. I've seen the liquidity very high, where there's tens of millions of dollars available, and I've seen the liquidity match the demand. So I like a lot of what will happen with BPD. I am not purposefully holding back cash to capitalize on a potential volatile or spike after BPD coins are released and this liquidity event occurs. I am 100% staked, but I won't have some money won't be here in time before BPD occurs. So I'm going to be in a prepared position for if those wicks go down. And I know other people that maybe not be public that are in the same way. They're in the same frame. And I just don't see, I see it as a windfall opportunity if it happens for me to be able to scoop up things at a discount. But if it doesn't happen, I'm still happy. It doesn't really change something about my operation. So I look at the BPD event as a once in a lifetime opportunity based on the code, not based on we're going to promote something this year and then maybe next year we'll do another promotion and you'll benefit from some future event. This is locked into the code of HEX. So I like being here at the right time in the right place, but I also don't want to over promote BPD and you got in before BPD, or if you didn't get in, you're wrecked. I don't like the phrasing inside the crypto chat saying you're wrecked if you didn't get in by BPD, because this is a 2030. This is actually, I think mathematically, it can go 150 years. So HEX has a long future ahead of it, and BPD will be a past milestone, long ago event sometime in the future. People will be looking at HEX and say, well, why would I get in now? Because all the people got all the money back in 2020 and 21. Why would I do it now? Because the code itself and the pool and the auto balancing elements of the potential of speculation and things like that mean something in the future as well. That's why people are staking 15 years, 10 years, 8 years, 7 years, not because they're only in before the BPD. So I want that frame to be out there a little bit better than it is.
True. And you know what else I was thinking too? People they're so fixated on the price and even like say a wick down, but because of the way you can 2 or 3x your bag at BPD, how far does it have to wick down for you to even break even? It's got to be pretty strong. This whole 1/10 of a cent, it's got to go way below. So if you're putting 5,000 in today, for example, and you even just 2x, but right now maybe 2.5, 3x based on how long you put that stake out there.
Even though HEX has less than a year, Bitcoin is like 11 years, gold is 5,000 years. You can put it into some other kind of commodity context, right? Even if you say that this is a new asset class of crypto as a whole, even if you say that. So when you're looking at the price in this context of HEX and the BPD, to me, it is like saying, I have 100 gold coins. They're 1 ounce each, okay? And before this date, if I stake them in a contract, a smart contract, say that there was such a real thing for real tangible items, say, okay, smart contract has my 100 coins. And after this particular date, this landmark event, I will have 2x or 3x as many coins, right? The price can be volatile. The price of the gold coins, because you have sudden release of gold coins available, might change, might be volatile. I'm not discounting that there might be volatility in price. But the example is 100 gold coins could potentially become 200 gold coins if staked, or 300, or whatever it is, 1.5 or 2x, 3x, whatever the BPD is going to release to people based on the stake length. So you have that opportunity. Or you are speculating that after this event, gold coins are going to be on sale, so that your purchase with new money is buying gold coins at 80% off of price, off of the historical price, the recent price, right? Days earlier it was worth this price. Now it's wicked down to 80% discount on gold coins. How many gold coins can you buy? The math to me doesn't work to not be staked. I will try to operate, with the cash that ends up coming through at the last, after the BPD, soon after the BPD, I will try to scoop up. I'm not saying that I won't try to scoop up, but I'm not planning for scooping up because the math doesn't seem to work for me. It works for me to buy the commodity before, have the contract multiply the number of commodity, and the price volatility will sort itself out as HEX becomes more popularized or more known or more distributed. As far as an idea around the world. Right now, we're still 22,000 people. How many people participate in Bitcoin? How many people have heard of Bitcoin after 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
Most of my neighbors have not. I mean, they might have heard the word, but they really haven't invested. Most of my neighbors haven't. So I see a long price rise opportunity in HEX. And I would rather get the HEX while I can before BPD.
Yeah, there's some tremendous room for mass adoption. And I talked about that too, that even the crypto sphere, the market cap of crypto as a whole needs to be up in the trillions. I mean, to really see that traction on anything. And I'm fine with some of that even going in with other tokens that are more household names like Bitcoin and Ethereum, because it'll channel its way to HEX once people learn the ropes in the system. That's how a lot of us discovered other tokens as well. And the post BPD dip, this is the one thing I was thinking too. If you're trying to play that game, you're trying to time the market. And that's pretty much impossible to do. I mean, I've just played with that myself on like the S&P 500, which is about as stable of a fund as you can find, and try to just pick price points even based on upcoming news and things that you think might be happening, or market technical analysis and stuff. It's very hard to get in the right buy points with that, because you're always going to have this wick down on anything, and then your entry point, if you're trying to time it at the bottom, which is of course what everybody wants, getting the bottom, 9 times out of 10 you're going to miss it. And then you're going to think, oh, I should sell now and buy more later. It's going to go down further. Or no, I bought it on the way up, then it went down again. Things don't go in this perfect V format either. So I think this notion that, I'm just going to hold the bag and it'll wick down immediately to this bottom price point, and I'll just dump everything in, get this huge bag of HEX, and then it's going to wick back up. There may be a like less than 1% that can actually have that lucky timing, but for the bulk of people, they're just going to time it wrong, and they're going to wind up having regrets.
So everybody, we got Johnny Chaos in here as well. So just wanted to introduce him, and real quick, one thing I want to say to Big Pep's point about, what do we think will happen after a big payday and whatnot is theoretically, if the price did go down, there's a lot of people like Big Pep that would capitalize on that opportunity of a lower price and of a cheaper buyback. And so, we got Johnny Chaos, Big Pep, and Gary as well. So yeah, Johnny.
Well, I definitely think whatever the low price is after big payday is our bottom. So, I don't think any of us are going to let it just sit there and linger.
No way.
What I think is really cool about HEX, though, is it's really kind of bending the rules of the way the establishment has been running the crypto space in general. As Gary was talking about Binance and their listing fees, bowing down to the king, giving away the free coins so they can dump on people's heads. HEX is listed organically, so they're not paying exchanges in order to get that listing, and that is something that just simply isn't done. So you have all these actors in the space that are like, no, you got to pay us. You got to pay us that protection money so that we'll list your coin. And Hex is not doing that. So what's happening is actually the exchanges, because of the popularity of Hex and as it grows, the exchanges are actually missing those fees. As to where other coins may not have mechanics behind them or the drive behind them to begin with, and the listing is promoting that, Hex organically is making its own traction and requiring the eyes of the exchanges. And if they want to make those fees on the exchanges and make those trades and get their share, then they're going to have to list it. So it's changing the way the exchanges have to look at some of these projects. So especially Hex. And I don't think Richard's going to pay anybody anything to list it. It's like, look, you want the fees, you come get your Hex, and you're going to come get it from us because you have gate kept us for all this time. You have pushed other projects ahead, and you are missing out on this opportunity. They are missing out on the opportunity, not us. So it's kind of interesting.
You saw CZ's tweet about, if we don't do this, then we're dead in the water because DEXs are going to take over, the fear in the tweet, or whatever. They are in an opportunity moment, really. I think over the next 6 months or so, they are in an opportunity moment, and specifically with a product like HEX, which represents the core values of the crypto idea. What is amazing about Uniswap is that all of the ERC20s, and in certain cases, Bitcoin being wrapped in REN BTC, is able to participate in a trading platform that's decentralized, and it's a smart contract. And so there's a stiff competition for things like KuCoin, Binance, Coinbase, whatever, right? Right now, the US-based market, at least, benefits from the fiat conversion into a coin, whether it's Gemini or Bittrex or Coinbase as far as the volume players. Right now, Binance benefits from being able to pull in economic energy from Asian countries, European countries, because they don't deal with fiat. They only deal with crypto to crypto. But they also right now are a bridge tool to trade your EOS pretty easily into HEX, to trade your Cardano pretty easily, things that are in different blockchain systems into HEX. So right now, for the moment, big firms like Binance have an opportunity to compete with DEXs. They have an opportunity because right now they can tip that by that migration to all Ethereum value in the Uniswap kind of contracts. They could potentially offer a better value for value exchange for their customer base. Right now, Uniswap charges 0.003%. Liquidity providers benefit from that. Uniswap, the contract in V3, will benefit from that. But, if you outprice your competition, you win market share. So what prevents a Binance from having 0.002% and being able to convert the economic of other blockchains into HEX? Right now, they have an opportunity. And are they going to get someone like Richard to kowtow? I don't think so. Are they going to get a community as strong as HEX to kowtow? I don't think so. I think the newbies that come into the HEX ecosystem constantly still say, win Binance, win KuCoin. How about if we were able to exchange this to that? Wouldn't it be cool? But most of the direction is toward Ethereum, toward Uniswap, toward decentralized platforms, toward a smart contract that's audited, safeguarding your value and your economic energy. So I think they have an opportunity. I think KuCoin and Binance have an opportunity, but they need to not fuck it up. Honestly, they need to actually act.
Well, I agree with all of that. One thing I want to say real quick is I also agree with Big Pep's point earlier about traditional market caps like Facebook, Amazon, Alphabet, things like that. I think that something like HEX as a cryptocurrency can really start to compete with, say, Bitcoin's market cap, and then in the future start competing with some of the other market caps as well. It's definitely the most likely project that has that opportunity, in my opinion.
Well, we do have to keep in mind that the market cap in itself is a vanity metric, and
Right.
you know, the concept that Hex can't outperform Bitcoin for market cap is actually kind of silly because it comes down to new adoption. Okay. So if more new people are interested in the properties that Hex has to offer, then the people in the space revamping the same Bitcoin narrative, it is very possible that something like Hex that has the additional features could appeal to more the no coiners than Bitcoin. Because if you think about it, if you try to explain Bitcoin to a no coiner, they're like, well, you hold it, it goes up in value, and you hope to sell it later. I mean, that's all you can really pitch them, right? In Hex, you've got the whole fact that you are gaining that trustless interest. It is a coin that works for you. It's not a coin that you're purchasing, hoping for it to appreciate in value like a collectible, and then and there's just so many features. I mean, I don't want to get into all of it, but the unit bias, all of that. Even for people that are run businesses, if they want to market it right now, if Hex is at a penny, it is so easy to do the conversion. $50 is 5,000 Hex. It's so easy to do the conversions if it were to stay at a penny. People, it's like a Rolex. Okay, not everybody wants to own a Rolex. If they buy something that works, they're good with that. I mean, that's the general populace. Bitcoin has become this high-end collectible vanity metric thing to say I own a Bitcoin or I own X amount of Bitcoins. It's become a vanity sort of thing. And as long as those people are exchanging them around between each other, that's great. But once you sell out, you're out. And Hex gives you that opportunity to where you stay in all the time. You are producing. You have your factory. You are making more income. It's not stagnant. It's something, that's going to be so much more appealing for purposes of adoption. And even the outside ads and stuff that we put out, now you see the Bitcoin ads. Bitcoin is never, nobody's invested in that ever to put out those outside ads like that before. And Hex, because Hex did, these people are stepping up to the plate. So in all actuality, Hex has done so much for crypto that it's not being recognized for whatsoever.
That's a good point, John. And the other thing, like I mentioned in there with Bitcoin, you're absolutely right. That's why you hear all this drum pounding about Bitcoin to 100K, Bitcoin to $1 million, because that's the only way you make any profits, big gains on Bitcoin. But Hex, I predict it will level out at a price point somewhere down the road. Let's say $1, whatever, just for easy math. This is where the power of shares really comes in. This is where you're earning that trustless interest, and you could have a flat price point for a year or two. We've seen this with Bitcoin already. What's it been doing for the last couple of years? It will just sit there and muddle around 10K or whatever for a long time, or 5K. But in Hex, you're still making great gains when you have all these shares and you're generating this trustless interest. You don't need it to go 10,000% every year to realize mad gains. But again, with Bitcoin, to get in now, what are you going to buy now? 15, 16 grand, whatever it is. Now you need even $100,000 price target. And how much economic energy do you need to move it that far? It gets harder and harder all the time. There's a lot of upwards resistance to that.
Well, I mean, I like how Richard explained it, and others have elaborated about virtual lending. The staking class is basically virtually lending, and they're getting a value for that. Basically, they're getting the interest that's paid out on the contract and so forth. And I like that concept because you are actually holding the price through your conviction and your stake in the contract. It's not just your emotion; it's actual contract enforced carrot and stick. And I like that a lot. I think that's really when people try to circumnavigate, and I see people pitch out, "Hey, one day we'll be able to trade shares and be able to move shares around." I think that's destructive to the whole time value concept. You're you're getting interest. I don't have to put it into a centralized coin or some kind of centralized like again, I don't want to talk about a particular name, but lending platforms where they give you some other token in exchange, and that's virtually representing the Bitcoin or the ETH energy that you put into that system, and then people basically can borrow that to trade and short the market and kill the value of your product. So I like a lot of the virtual lending concept. And if I'm staked, I'm lending out to the liquid holders of HEX. There's just so many good things that you really wouldn't be able to cover in a single stream. And I think that's also part of that speculative stickiness that has the community grow. And people who have participated for years in this thing still are learning stuff every single day. It's really amazing.
Yeah. You know what else is ingenious is how we're the miners. You know, when I learned about crypto in 2017, and I was thinking about getting into the mining myself, you couldn't even buy graphics cards, but you have, you know, these huge rigs, and some of these people have their house filled with these things. And then you even look at the warehouses in China, and look at the amount of electricity they're burning, and how, you know, inefficient all this stuff is. And Richard actually alluded to that early on. He's like, you know, what do we need all this tons of hardware and burning up all this, all these resources? And now we have the code acting as the stakers acting as the miners. It's quite ingenious in its own design that way. And we aren't dependent on them. We don't have miners dumping on our heads all the time either.
I had the opportunity to buy like 2 skids worth of ASIC miners, and I saw it come up, and I mean, I literally could have picked them up for like $500, and I was like, oh, I could put together a Bitcoin mining farm. And then I went, wait a second here, I got to pay power bills, I got to run maintenance, I got to set up all these machines. Why don't I just take that $500 and drop it in the HEX and be done with it? Hey, glad I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, the headache that's involved with it. Again, Bitcoin mining, Ethereum mining, some new shitcoin that comes up, and they have a POW kind of mining thing. I think it's more destructive, even though it's part of the security model, it's part of the business model, and things like that. To make that pitch, I think it's more destructive than helpful. And I think that the leverage of utilizing the existing infrastructure and the benefits of being on the Ethereum network, even though people bitch about, you know, $2 or $3 or $50 at its spike kind of cost to do a transaction, I still couldn't be happier than being on Ethereum and the cross trading and things like that are available as an ecosystem. I love all the economic energy and innovation inside the Ethereum network.
Yeah, it's really nice. That was well thought out too. Instead of trying to build the entire infrastructure, which we get a lot of flack about that too. You know, from some crypto people, they're like, "Well, you're just a contract. You're just built on top of another platform. You're not Ethereum." So we don't need to be. You know, I don't need to be Spectrum Cable. To make a movie, to be Amazon Prime. You don't need to lay all the fiber optic cable and all the. Let somebody else do that. Then, and even Richard said that's not where the money is anyway. It's in the next level, like what we're having here.
People like to talk about Lambos or the nicest version of a Tesla, but they never talk about building the road that the Tesla is going to go on. They talk about the car, and so the car is where you can find the performance, and you can choose. You know, if you want to be on an Autobahn kind of highway system, then you will be. If you want to be off-road, you maybe should choose a different vehicle and take those risks of being off-road. So I think that HEX is designed perfectly. I don't think there's anything better as far as an infrastructure or road system right now of transport of value. But I think that the value is the HEX token and share system. Yeah, it's amazing.
I just want to share something real quick. So everyone knows Hexologist. We are going to end the show in about 16 minutes from now. That's when, what's that?
It's funny. He says, in about 16 minutes and 32 seconds.
Right. Well, I just saw that he his stream started, and I know he's got like a 17-minute timer. So, yeah, I just wanted to say, yeah, we'll go for another, 15 or, 15 and a half minutes. But yeah, one thing I want to say real quick as well about HEX and why it's so great, just even compared to other cryptocurrencies and projects, is that when you have the average staker that's 4.43 years, when you have that, when someone's holding a bag, they're usually not going to down talk their bag. They're going to promote it. So that's another really cool thing about HEX.
Well, I mean, the people that participate in the network have integrity, as far as what I've seen. The people I've interacted with directly, that put their face out on camera, that you talk with offline, things like that. So one of the best sales integrity sales points is when you actually refer people to go to someone else, to go to some other better product that serves their need. So if you can do that with integrity, if you can honestly say, hey, I understand that you're looking for this particular piece of stereo equipment that we don't sell, or we do sell stereo equipment, but it's not what's suiting what you need, right? And this other competitor, this other company down the street, I know that they're selling it for this price, and they're probably going to give you better value for value exchange. Why don't you go there, right? I've done that all my life. If I know that I can't suit the product or the service that the person is looking for, I refer them to where I at least feel like I've made the investigation to say, go check with them. This other person is reputable. This other product seems to have been built with quality. And I think that I actually get return business in the future when I can deliver a better value than my competitor. So that same customer base will come back to me when I have a better product or service that fits their need. And so I think that that kind of integrity is inside the community of HEX, bar none. You know, people that I've worked with directly, at least.
That's a
So
good
when
point
you're ready,
too.
when you're ready for those coins that aren't performing to turn into a coin that is, you can go on to Uniswap and turn those coins into HEX.
Yeah,
That's right.
yeah, yeah. You can speak with it with integrity inside the system and outside, and just let time and results be your example.
You know, the transparency from Richard on down to all of us here, you know, nobody has some ulterior motive, at least that, you know, nothing that I think everybody's just like you said, good, high integrity. Everybody's in it to you know, be productive together, you know, win it as a group basically, and show the cards on the table. That's why we don't have people, you know, like I said, like other ones where people just hide in their face, or they're a little dodgy in their approach, or it's very staged. You know, we've seen a lot of those in the past too, right? And you can always tell. I'll queue up a video on YouTube about some other token, and you know, within the first few seconds, when the guy's all giddy and all excited about some price point and some token, and he's talking behind the camera too, and I'm thinking, you know, I've never even heard of this project, and why are you so excited, and what am I waiting for here? And it's just this, it's almost this kind of unctuous used car sales pitch that you get. People read through it, but people go to HEX and they hear everybody talk, they hear all of us talk, they realize we're genuine, we're legitimate investors, we did our research, we didn't just haphazardly go into this thing. And you know, anybody that takes the time even just to listen to Richard, I think they tend to come around full circle. People get these preconceived notions from, you know, these little video clips or what they've heard about either him or HEX or the product, because really there's never been solid counter arguments, at least at a technical level that I can see, or anything with HEX. It's just these baseless assertions.
Well, truthfully, there's never been solid accusations on Richard himself either.
True.
I mean, you hear this, he's a scammer thing, but nobody ever comes up as the person. Oh, here's where he comes from, and here's the paperwork that shows that I got taken advantage of by Richard Hart. You never, ever, ever see anybody that actually says it was me. Never.
Yeah, he's called everybody out on that. Yeah, and nobody stepped up with any evidence to support any of that stuff. So I think a lot of it just has to do with
bad deal, as he said. Not even a bad deal.
No. He's very open about all of his history that way, and which again, it makes you feel a little more comfortable getting involved with the project. And when you're doing your own research too, and you're discovering more, and I mean, even with HEX, and you've got the contract, you can go and read the code. I've been starting to dig through some of that too. I mean, I'm not a blockchain developer, but I know software well enough to make heads or tails out of parts of it. And it looks clean, it looks good. I mean, it's well thought out and commented. And he's also open to any questions you want to throw his way. He doesn't dodge things. You know, when you're talking to somebody who's trying to, you know, play hide the weenie or something like that, and you ask him a direct question, he gives you a direct answer. He doesn't give you he doesn't answer a question with a question a lot where it doesn't make a point, or, you know, divert your attention to something else because he doesn't want to show. It's that whole Wizard of Oz thing, right? You know, don't look behind the curtain, just look over here, which is what you see with most other projects. But he's like, nope, this is the way it works, so and this is why. Or if you have an argument against HEX or its methodology, he always brings up a base case of something else against it, or some flawed concepts you may have about markets in general, which I learned a lot from him, and had to correct myself too on what I assumed in the beginning.
I think with the copy pasta, I think that, basically just answering, he gets frustrated over answering the same thing 50 times to, just 50 different people. So he does leverage some technology to make sure that people get the information direct, like the website, and it'll have the contract. The Ethereum will show the contract. Other people that might know Solidity, they can walk through the contract. He always points to people, look at the product, all those kinds of things. And then, the marketing, the psychology, the truth of price discovery, how that works in any market. Yeah, I love it. It's great.
Absolutely.
So is Brandon about to kick us off? I think he's getting antsy over there. He's thinking about his hexo.
No, not at all, actually. I was, when his stream started, I looked at the timer, which was like 17 minutes, and yeah, we've got about 8.5 minutes left, so.
All right, well, we should put a little clock timer so we.
Yeah, exactly. I do have a timer.
Yeah.
It's pretty exciting.
I just saw you guys on. I just saw you guys on. I wanted to stop in and say, hey, both you guys, all of you guys, putting out great information. We got the youngest guy I know who's going to be a hexzillionaire up here. We got Big Pep and his worksheets. His spreadsheets are doing fantastic. Gary with your tax information and business information. So the community's been great, and it's great to have all these different personalities with all these different aspects in business and everything. So I enjoy hanging out with you guys. I'm gonna roll, but thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks, Johnny. Thank you.
Yeah, I like Johnny. Johnny's passionate, and he's one of these don't take shit off of people kind of Twitter. Every time he puts something on Twitter, some video, I always like his content. Those little snippets.
Yeah. You have to be confident and stand up in this to get up here and speak about HEX, because you're going to get some blowback from people, and you have to be able to speak to it and hold your own. And yeah, he's definitely one of those guys. You guys are all those kind of guys. So, it really kind of helps, I think, inspire others too to take interest in this. Which the one thing I'll say, and I know we got to go soon. The amount of FUD around this project is mind-boggling to me. I never would have expected the amount of resistance. I mean, I knew maybe there would be some entities or some persons that had issues with it in the beginning, like anything that's new, or maybe people that had, Richard used to be a Bitcoin maxi, and now they feel he's, betrayed them or whatever. But I mean, like with the Peter McCormick, some of the other stuff, I was just blown away by the amount of hate that came out, which also made me suspicious of their intentions. I'm like, it's one of those things where if you don't feel threatened by something, you just kind of can be dismissive of it. I think a lot of these people feel threatened by Richard, and they feel threatened by HEX, and they feel that, hey, this is going to draw attention away from my cash cow. Because don't forget, some of these YouTube guys as well, they make their living promoting coin after coin. They get paid token after token to promote this, promote that. We've seen a lot of them come and go. But if there's something like HEX that takes in a lot of the market share, maybe they feel that some of their bread and butter is going to be taken away.
Well, I mean, all these other projects or whatever, they have marketing budgets, right? And they're going to pay 7 or 8 influencers in the same week to talk about the same release of that same new product or idea. And that's investor money being used to promote to the same pool of investors that what they have has value. And what they don't know is a lot of the influencers that basically talk about, top 5 this week and the top 5 next week, they just basically are doing churn, right? And that churn is lining their pocket. So they never look at the technical, they never look at the code. They always have some kind of mystic, reason why it has value or something along those lines. But if they were actually defined that winner, why wouldn't they go all in on that winner? If they actually did the scrutiny, if they did that analysis, if they did that full research, and it was locked code, not dependent on admin keys or some future partnership, why wouldn't they go all in? If you know that a rocket is the only way you're going to get to the safety of Mars, why would you go all in on that rocket? So, yeah.
No, yeah, I remember Crypto Crow back in 2017. He said on his channel that in order for him to just do a review on any token, they had to give him, and this is when Ethereum was about $2,000, 10 Ethereum worth of that token in his wallet.
Yep.
And he had no guarantees. He'd say that the review would be positive or negative. But he did a lot of token reviews back then, and so did, of course, David Hay and a lot of the others.
I got into a product that he promoted very strongly. He went to events. He was, his brand, awareness, and then that product went from $5 at its top to 7 cents. So to think that they're actually helping you in some way financially is ridiculous. Look at the code, look at the contract, look at the market fit. Does it actually have product market fit? Is it actually something, people don't need to know how a light bulb works. What's the filament made of? How's the electricity flow from point to point? They just want to turn a switch on and light come on.
Right.
And in some ways, HEX addresses that. If you want it to be simple, then look at it simply. I put in this amount of HEX, I get out that amount of HEX after a spike of time, a span of time. Look at simplicity. I just want to flip the switch and now I've got more, right? Just more. Or you can look at it in complexity. You can say, okay, this is how the vacuum inside of a glass bulb with electricity flowing makes light. I mean, you can look at the technicals if that's your interest, or you can look at the simplistic fact that that it can go up in value because it becomes scarce, because a certain amount gets locked up, and that interest is paid to staking class, just like the mining and the Bitcoin analogies. So I think it's great. I know that we're about to go over to Hexo pretty soon, but I'm going to bow out for now.
Cool.
And I really appreciate Big Pep coming on. And
hey, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I want to see more of your content. I'm looking forward to your next release. You said you just published something.
I just recorded something. Yeah, I'll publish it probably after Hexo's show today. Yeah, nice chatting with you guys, and I'll go ahead and head out too. I know Hexo's about to start up, so
yeah.
If
people are trying to get in at the last minute to BPD and they actually have cash, if they have cash and they're U.S. based, they can go to libertyx.com. libertyx.com. It's not a referral link. It's just a company. And the company, I've transacted probably like 20 grand in the past week, I think this way. And it's basically CVS or Walgreens. And it's up until November 30th. It's zero cost other than the miner's cost to transfer Bitcoin to you. So I think I can get $500 per day with zero at spot, whatever Bitcoin spot price is. And then you can convert that Bitcoin to REN BTC, and then from REN BTC on Uniswap, you can convert it into HEX. So if you have physical dollar, that's a great tool. If you have need in credit or funding or cash conversion from credit into cash, then you can reach out and DM me directly. I know tools, and I use them every day. But I make about $700, maybe $800 per day. So reach out to me if you have a question about that kind of stuff, and I'll try and help you out.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for doing that, Gary. So yeah, guys, we're gonna wrap it up right now. I've got another minute and a half. So yeah, I just want to say, thanks to Gary with Funding Jim. You can go to fundingjim.com. Big Pep, he's also on YouTube. I did post the channel descriptions on the chat, so you guys can see that on the YouTube, the Twitch, and those streams as well. So yeah,
mine is actually, that's correct. That's the way that the URL shows. But it's also, if you just go youtube.com/fundingjim. I'm funding Jim on just about every platform.
Good point. Exactly. So yeah, we're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks, Big Pep and Gary for coming on, and everyone, Hexologist right now. Go to dlive.tv/hexologist. I'm going to join his stream as well. So thanks everyone for joining, and I'll see you next time.
Later.